Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to start with a quote. The ears of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. Great president once said that. Mr. President, I rise today to make it clear to everyone in this chamber exactly why I cannot support this legislation. You've heard the chants outside this chamber, not just today and last night, but many times over the past 2 years. Thousands of people have shown up, union and non-union, men and women, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, even their children. These are the working families of Michigan. These are the thousands of people that I would sit here to represent. When I vote no, I'm voting no on behalf of the thousands of families. Who are you voting yes for? Grover Norquist? I know he sent you all a letter asking you to support this anti-worker legislation. You are voting yes because a handful of corporate lobbyists, a handful of fat cats in the back are telling you to. That's who you work for, the powerful few, the guys with top hats and monocles. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I work for the people, for the many. I proudly represent them in casting this no vote. I'm doing what's right, what's good for the people. And I tell you this, Mr. President, we will fight you. We will not let this stand. We'll fight you from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu. We'll fight you from the streets and in the suites. We'll fight you in the pit house and we'll fight you in the outhouse. And Mr. President, I'll tell you this right now, when it's all said and done, when it's all over, we will grab the thunderbolt of truth. We will grab the rod of revolution and we will have our victory. And the spoils will go to the working people of Michigan. And you will forever remember the day when you thought you could conquer labor. You were sorely mistaken. Be prepared to engage in the fight of your life. You might win this battle, but the wars are brewing, sir. The wars are brewing, sir. And we're coming, and we're taking no prisoners, and we're taking no quarter. And Mr. President, when all said is done, working men and women of this state will reign supreme. Thank you, and I ask that my comments be printed in the journal.
Hello, welcome to The Young Effect. I am your state senator, Coleman Alexander Young II. Always a privilege and a blessing to be broadcasting with you live on WHPR TV 33, WHPR.com. As always, before we get started, we want to honor our men and women who serve us abroad. That's our United States troops, our fighting men and women. We're going to continue to keep honoring them until each and every one of them come home. So everyone in our military service, our Marines, our Navy, our Army, our National Guard, anybody that's out there fighting on the front lines, our intelligence services, we want everybody to come home, and we want everybody to come home safely, and we will continue to keep honoring them on the front line as well as praying for them and their families. We also want to continue to praise God for our police officers, our firefighters, our emergency services personnel, people who do the thankless job of keeping us safe every day, who redefine what a hero and heroism is because they put their life on the line for those that they do not even know. So we love them and we appreciate them. We thank God for them. Please join me for a moment of silence for our heroes and their families. And we will continue to do this till each and every one of them come home safely from Iraq, from Afghanistan. It's time to bring our boys home. Please join me for a moment of silence. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're going to jump right into it. The numbers for you to call on the bottom of the screen. Please call in. We got some callers. Before we call in, I want to jump into this real quickly. I got this on my mind. I got a couple things on my mind I want to hit off. First thing I want to hit off real quick, I just want to get this off, is about R. Kelly. I'm hearing all these random things about people talking about different people who he was with. Listen, I don't think, and I am not defending R. Kelly at all. I think that statutory rape and pedophilia is wrong. And that's what it is. It's rape, period. And he needs to go to jail. If convicted, he needs to go to prison. Me personally, I think he needs to go. Personally. That's what I personally think. As a biased viewpoint, that's what I think. My only concern is the application of equal justice. I don't think it's right that we locking up Bill Cosby. I don't think it's right that we going after R. Kelly, and you got Harvey Weinstein still out there. You got other folks who've been doing this type of stuff. That is Kevin Spacey that's still out there. I want equal justice under the law. Period. Sexual assault is a crime, a disgusting crime. And there needs to be consequences for people who feel that the law does not apply to them, who feel that they are powerful, and because of their fame and their influence and their power, they can violate the law and there's no consequence. For every woman who has been sexually assaulted, for every human being on this planet who had their rights violated, we need justice. I just want us to adhere and live up to the fundamental American principle of equal justice under the law. We got some callers. We're going to take them right now. I want to know what you think. It's open mic. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I just want to talk about this issue because I had this burn on my chest for a long time. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Listen, I agree with you. The fact is that they want to continue to shine the black crime and make the white crime go silently blind. And then they don't get the same. They don't get the same jail time. Some of them don't get no jail time, and they be done murdered somebody. Y'all talking about them girls being seduced and whatever happened. But when other folks do the same crime, they get no time, and they don't get a whole lot of shine on their crime.
Well, look,
So,
there's a case out in California. I think his name is Ed Buck, if I'm not mistaken, about this guy where they're finding bodies at this man's house. And he's supposedly like this wealthy donor to elected officials out in California.
Exactly.
And you know what I'm saying? Just because your politics might align with somebody else's doesn't mean you excuse the fact that you find the people that are dead. These are African-American people who are found dead in this man's basement. And and no charges have been pressed yet.
See?
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that we shouldn't lock up other people who commit crimes.
We want to...
Right.
We want to, we want to hang each other. I mean, the self-hate runs deep because we don't even fight for justice for us. I mean, I understand the fact that, we commit crimes and we do things to ourselves, but it seems like when we do it, it's more prevalent and a problem than when somebody else is doing it. So why can't we all get the same time for the same crime?
Well, listen, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And let me just add on to what you're saying, because you hit on a real good point. If I could just add on, I also think the fact that when people talk, this is a little bit different. When people talk about black on black crime, they don't talk about it in its full context. And so what I mean by that is they talk about how we have problems with black on black crime in terms of gun violence in the inner city. But what they don't talk about is that black people are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted for murder, and they're 12 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted for a drug crime, and they're 3.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted for sexual assault. So when you see somebody that numbers statistically in a police database that says that black people commit this many murders, you got to weigh that with the fact that black people are so much more likely to be wrongfully convicted for these crimes. I mean, black people make up 13% of the population. We 47% of the exonerations. Go ahead, I'm going to let you get the final word.
Yeah, we get the kangaroo courts. where they can stump up and call the police on you and misidentify you and make big mistakes and lose the evidence when
Well,
you're innocent.
yeah, it's that is also the fact that you go if you poor, you go to court, you got to go
Right.
get the public defender. The public defender don't even know your name, let alone ain't really
Yep.
trying to defend you in your best interest to go against the people who he works for, which is the court. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? So
and
it's just a continuous vicious cycle.
it is. And the thing is that the mass crimes of humanity, the crimes against humanity, it continues in this century. The things
Absolutely.
that they have done to us back then, they're still doing it today in a more modern day fashion. The war is on black people's minds, and so we got to the point that we ignore what the oppressor is doing to us. That's causing a lot of mental health and unrest and suffering, and we just ignore that. And we constantly blame ourselves for conditions that we're in, poor conditions, no resources, schools failing. We blame ourselves, but we don't look at the systemic roots behind it, because it's so easy to always, it's just, like I said, the minds have been molded and controlled. That's the act of war when you don't have your mind and you don't know your culture and your identity and your capabilities. So you're just a mentally ill population. But I also wanted to add to the conversation that what I called for from the beginning was the crimes against, they talk about a national emergency, but they still haven't called out Flint crisis as a national emergency.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. And then the fact that they're poisoning everything, we're finding leads and all kind of mold and so on in our school system. But if black people would just open their eyes and understand this is happening all over the world and in every state, wherever there's urban cities, black folks, they really are, the resources and their tax dollars are being used to abuse.
Environmental
to profit somebody
racism
else's
is
family.
environmental racism is a national emergency.
Environmental racism and the
I mean,
poisoning.
I think it was Quartz that put out a report that said that black people are 3 times more likely to lose their life due to environmental racism than their white counterparts. That they're more than, I think in the high 60s%, they're more than likely to live near power plants or polluting plants of that nature in America because of zoning laws and because of redlining and other such things. You know what I'm saying? Unemployment and things of that nature. Look, there's a lot of
Hey, we
things.
can list
Environmental
go on.
racism, economic racism. I mean, African Americans are 37% less likely to get a call back if they have a black sounding name, according to Harvard. A black college graduate has 33% less wealth than a white high school dropout. If you're a black person, you're 2 times more likely to be unemployed, even if you got the same level of college education as your white counterparts, and you 2 times more likely to live in poverty. So I mean, there's lots of different emergencies in terms of what's going on. I mean, you pay 80 cents on the dollar to your white counterparts. You know what I mean? You're overworked, you're underpaid, you're the last one hired, first one fired. Everybody's familiar, with that type of racism that's been going on and continues to go on. I mean, they're talking about, Donald Trump having the lowest black unemployment rate in history. I think a lot of that has to do with his predecessor, President Barack Obama, than him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think
But
he's just in the
look what
right
he
place
did.
at the right
He
time.
shut
But
the government down, and now he don't want to give nobody no payback.
right.
So
But he
wants
said
to
he was going
continue-
to. He said he was
wants
going to, and we gonna talk about the border and really the process going on with the border, because most of the stuff that's happening with the border in terms of drugs are coming from legal ports of entry. They're coming from by boat in terms of our legal ports. They're coming by airport where people will fly
by
to the country
Canada,
and will
coming from
overstay their
Canada.
visa. You know what I mean? They're coming into legal ports of entry alongside the border where they're supposed to go to ask for asylum. The reason why a lot of these folks are leaving, if you're talking about the Northern Triangle of Central America, so what you're talking about, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, they're leaving these places. One, because of population growth. Secondly, because it's becoming uninhabitable because of climate change. You know, over there
And
in
you know what?
Australia, they had to shut down their power grid because it was too hot over there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they're migrating to come over here where it's
Mhm.
cooler for them to be more
Mhm.
habitable for them to live over there, and they got a problem with the drug cartels.
And the black folks need to take the chains off your brains, because at the end of the day, we're the only ones that don't do group economics or tribalism. Every
Yeah.
other group, even though they have gone through Holocaust, but ours was worse than that because we still going through a Holocaust
Yeah.
and a tsunami. But that's because
Well,
the
slavery and
chains on
badges
our
thereof.
brains, we're sitting back allowing things to go on, and we're so busy praising our oppressor and divided into self-hate and hating on the oppressed. Thank you for taking my call.
Love you. Thank you. Appreciate your call.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And that's the good thing. And I just want to comment on that a little bit too. Listen, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Chaldean Town or Greek Town or Cork Town or anything like that. I just don't know why we can't have African Town. I don't know what's so wrong with that. Every other group in this city has that. And we just want the same thing. You know, we had Asian Town. We should bring that back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against any of these other communities. I think they're vibrant. Some of the best times I ever had in my life, I had in Mexican Town. You know what I'm saying? I think it's fantastic. I just don't know why we can't monetize our culture as well. You know? So we got another caller. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Hey, Coleman.
Hey,
Brenda,
what's going on, Brenda?
I got a present for you.
You got a present.
First of all, it's so good to hear your voice. You sound strong.
You sound good too. It's been a while.
Yeah, I miss y'all.
Miss you too.
So, I was at the Tuskegee Airmen meeting. I
Okay.
have your badge for your jacket.
Yeah, I gotta get that together. I still ain't got that together yet.
But I have your badge, and they were so excited that they have a badge for Coleman Young Jr.
Well, I need to go over there and see them and get that badge on there then.
I got it for you. I'm
Okay.
going to bring it by.
Well, look, I'll make sure I call you. I'm gonna talk to you after
Yeah.
the show, and I'll make sure we do
Okay.
that.
No problem. Tell everybody I said hi.
They say hello too. We sit our love.
Yep, I'm driving. I can't see your show.
Oh no, that's all right. It's no problem. We want you to get home safely. Just know we love you. We appreciate you.
I love you and miss you so much.
Miss you more.
Bye.
Bye. We got another caller. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect. Hello? Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's going on?
I'm just calling.
Can you speak a little bit closer to the phone? I can't hear you.
I'm calling.
There you go.
To speak with you to see. There's an echo on my line.
Turn
Can
your
you
TV
hear me?
down. I can't. You break it up a little bit.
I have a cell phone because my home phone is out of order.
Oh, okay. I can hear you now, though. Go ahead.
I'm calling because I'm in dire need of some help to get me some legal advice and someone to represent me concerning just that, my home phone. My home phone was off from January of 2017 until September of 2018 from a company that I retired from, which is a benefit that I earned for 34 years service. I contribute this to the fact that I call this television station, and some of the conversations maybe that I have had have not been acceptable to some of those that might be listening in. I realize you're not an attorney or anything, but I really need some assistance. I've gone through
I might
call
know.
for actions in different places, and I still haven't resolved it. Senator, the problem is I was employed in this company connected with telephone facility equipment and lines. And I know where the problem is. It's in the central office. And this is the second time that they did on January 12th of this year.
Well, listen. I don't want you to tell all your business on TV. Look, you should probably contact somebody called the Legal Aid Society. And what I'm going to do is
I don't qualify for that. I tried that the first time they did this.
Oh, you tried it already?
I tried that. I was home was out for
right.
19 months.
Well. Look. Hold on for a minute. You know what? Cause I know somebody that might be able to help you, but I don't want to say
I
it
need
on the
some real
air.
help. I need some real help to
You
have
got.
this stop.
I don't want you to give out your phone number on TV either. So hold on
No,
for a
I
minute.
don't.
Should I give her access to our legal person that we know? I'm talking
I
my team
really
here
need some help on
because she
this.
needs some help. Or should I just tell them
They want to
a
treat me as if
website?
I'm just a customer when I've been with them 63 years.
Okay, this is the number what we want you to call. Call 313
Okay.
868 1212. Leave your name and number,
1, 2.
and we'll call you back.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Did you get it?
Appreciate your help. I really need help because
All right.
this is something I'm familiar with. It. In
Well, look.
fact, I work with the network district.
Call that number, and then we'll find somebody for you. Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot.
You take care now.
Appreciate your help. Okay.
You be good
You
now.
too.
Love you now.
Bye-bye.
We got another caller. Caller, what's up?
Yeah, this is unbought, a wannabe bought. Malik Shabazz is bought. Hey, Malik Shabazz is bought.
Hello? He don't. Let me say something. First of all, I got nothing but love for Brother Shabazz. Now, we've had some intense fellowship over the years. We don't always see eye to eye on everything. But I had nothing but love for that brother. And I respect that brother. And I respectfully agree to disagree with that brother. I just want to make that clear. And I think that what we got to start doing is learning, I think it would be best if we all respect each other and allow each other the space to be able to have our own views and opinions without denigrating or castigating one another. I'm not saying that's what that brother was saying. I'm not trying to call that brother out at all. I'm speaking from my own personal experience, things that I've had to learn over the years, and I'm telling you that. I'm sharing with you what I've learned, and that's what I want to try to do moving forward. We got another caller? Okay. So, like I was saying before, in terms of the border, the only drug that's coming across the southern border where he's trying to build that barrier is marijuana. Now, everybody knows what I feel about marijuana. Everybody knows how I feel about the the prohibition of drugs and the legalization of marijuana. I was a key component, a supporter, advocate, whatever you want to be. That's what I am. In the business, that's what I am. All the way, through and through. The only drug that's coming across that border right now is marijuana. Heroin, cocaine, every other drug is coming through legal ports of entry. Like I said earlier, boat, plane, and legal places where you're supposed to go by land to be able to, where they got it in cars, where they try to pack it in there, and they're trying to ship it across the border. Marijuana is the only drug that's coming across that border, and that's been going on across the border since the 1900s, since Pancho Villa and the Mexican Revolution over there in Mexico and over there in California, Texas, okay? And I said this before, and I say this again, and I'm not in the habit of giving Donald Trump advice. I'm not. But I think that if they really want to stop drugs from coming across their border, they need to legalize marijuana. Seizures of marijuana across the border have dropped by over 70%. I'm telling you, that's what they need to do. We got a caller. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect. Hello?
Good afternoon, State Senator.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, fine and you. I just had to call in. It's so nice. You always be so nice to everybody. But hello?
Yeah, are you here?
Yeah, okay. You mentioned one thing, the motherland, and you've been crucified ever since. And I just had to make that comment. But thank you, State Senator, for everything you do and have done and will do.
Well, look, I love you and I appreciate that.
Love you too.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot that you would say that.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that means a lot. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'll be trying to ask about, you know, forgiveness and, you know, try to turn over a different leaf. You know what I'm saying? I probably should have said Shining City on the straight. You know what I mean? It was a dumb thing to say, and I said it the wrong way. But the mission was basically the mission I've always had, which is that we need to take back the city from poverty. We need to take back the city from injustice. We need to take back the city from people who are hurting right now that are out there. And that's what I was trying to say, and that's what I was trying to advocate for. I did it in a stupid, clumsy way. And the fact that I offended people, I really am sorry. It wasn't my intention to offend or to exclude or to segregate anybody, knowing the terrible history of those things. I was just trying to say that, you know, whether it be from water shutoffs, whether it be from foreclosures, whether it be from violence, which is still major issues, that's what I want to take the city back from. I just said it in a really poor way, and it hurt people. And the fact that it hurt people, again, I really am sorry about that. So, look, we're going to take a quick break because we got a real special guest that's here with us who we're going to ask a lot of questions, a very distinguished record. You know what I mean? That I'm really excited about, that a lot of people love. I think that, you know, he's America's favorite judge. We're gonna have him come on real quick. So I'm gonna tell you who it is. So don't turn on that. Don't drop the popcorn. Don't change the dial. We'll be right back. Well, hello. Thank you so much. We are back. Like I said earlier, I have a very, very special guest. I'm sure a lot of you known him. You've seen him out there, whether on television or you've seen him in the courtroom. He's a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway to the best of my limited ability. So I have with me the man, the myth, the legend, the legacy, the icon, the one and only, the smartest and the sharpest.
Oh, my.
The Honorable Judge Craig Strong. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine, Senator.
Always
So glad
a
to be with you. I
Always
enjoy
a pleasure.
listening to you. You inform us so much. You keep us
Good.
on top of the issues that we need to be involved in.
I try
thank
to.
you for your service.
Thank you so much, and I thank you for yours. Now, I'm so glad to have you on here. And before we begin, because I know you want to talk about the membership drive with
That's
the
right.
Charles H. Wright Museum, but before we do, I really want people to know about you and the things that you've done. Because I love your style and I love the way you do things, but I think sometimes people don't really understand the history things that you've done, your record, which really speaks for. I was reading through some of the things that you've done, and I was blown away. If you could just tell us a little bit about the things that you've accomplished and how long you've been a judge or what you've done before that, I would really appreciate just giving us the history of you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just very fortunate, first of all, to have been born in the family that I'm from. I'm actually the grandson of a slave. My father's mother was born in slavery. My father was the youngest of her 12 children. And my parents had 4 children. Then 10 years later, I was born. So slavery was not that far. It's only 2 generations. Wow. And when we think about where we are in the history of America, right now, we're recognizing the 400th anniversary of when Africans were enslaved and brought to America, dropped off Jamestown and forced to work, stripped of their identity, whipped and beaten, made to work from sunup to sundown. And the majority time that our ancestors and we as a people have been in this country, we've been enslaved. So what we've done, I think, is miraculous for the short time that we have had our freedom. When you think about when emancipation came about, our ancestors started off with nothing. All those years of working and accumulating no wealth. So when they were freed, they didn't have anything. And they didn't have anything to give down to their children and grandchildren. And in spite of the odds, look at what we've become.
Yeah.
Everything, every area of society, we've excelled in when given the opportunity. So we are America and proud of it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really an amazing. Wow,
that's the way we have to look at it.
We really do. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to say all that. I thought you were talking about you, your history as a judge advocate. But no, I'm really
here
glad
to talk
you said
about
that,
the museum. But
Yeah.
you know, all right, I first got on the bench when I was 30, and I was very fortunate to have that opportunity to serve. And I've been a judge most of my life. I've had the honor of serving citizens, and I've tried to do my best. I have been the president of 3 bar associations. I've been the president of the Wolverine Bar Association. I've been the president of the Association of Black Judges of Michigan. I've been the national president of the Judicial Council of the National Bar Association.
Wow.
I'm a retired commander of the United States Navy Reserve, and I served as a judge in San Diego. One of my greatest honors is to have been an international observer in South Africa, working in the farmlands, the prisons, and cities in which Nelson Mandela was elected president of South Africa, in the first non-race election that they've ever had. And what that means to me, and I tell young people all the time, you got to show up to go up.
Yeah.
Because all the things that I've done mostly have been through community service, and the people that I've met, it's been through helping other people. And when you received an education, you got to give back. And you don't even have to have a great education to do it. You just always have to reach back and help somebody else.
Wow, that's really phenomenal. And let me just say, when you were talking about earlier about slavery, I mean, that was so powerful. I'm not saying that was that I'm trying to condemn that or talk down about that. I'm just amazed at just all the things that you've done. 'Cause I'm looking at all the things that you've done, all the things that you accomplished, all the people that you touched in terms of being over there in South Africa. I mean, what was that experience like?
As a great experience.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, because they're just coming right off. That was just when they let when they let Nelson Mandela out of prison.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And right off, I think off the heels a little bit of apartheid.
That's right.
Over there, what they were going through. I mean, that must have been liberating, just as another African American looking at Nelson Mandela and seeing all that he's been through as a political prisoner, to be able to get out and then to be able to lead his country.
That's right.
After that oppression, which would have broke most people.
That's true. That's true.
That must have been an amazing experience.
It was an amazing experience, and to see that how he conducted himself as president and how he developed the Truth Commission. When he became president, he did not want to punish those that punished him.
Right.
He wanted peace. He wanted people to get along. He wanted South Africa to become a country much like what we want here, to have equal justice under the law so that people could all be considered equal under God's eyes. And he was a great leader. And he followed us. I mean, he followed Rosa Parks. One of the greatest honors I had was to introduce Bishop Tutu to Rosa Parks. And Bishop Tutu is still alive. And he looked up to Rosa Parks. Even Bishop Tutu looked up to Rosa Parks and to Reverend Martin Luther King in the way that they handle things in America. So we have been a great influence to them. When I went there the first time during apartheid, I had the honor of serving on their court. I sat on a murder case, and coming from Detroit Recorder's Court, I had conducted more murder trials than the judges over there, and they were looking up to me for some guidance, and I was very proud to be able to assist them in conducting their trial, and that was because of the experience I had here and the fact that we have a Bill of Rights, which they do not have or did not have at that time. So coming from America's, God bless America, no matter what our faults are, we're still the greatest country in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I mean, so you basically say that you had tremendous influence over their entire legal system, at least in terms of like
Well,
Bill of Rights and things that. I mean, that's pretty significant.
for those that I came in contact with.
Right.
Because, like I said, people look to America around the world for guidance and strength
Right.
and for fairness. And we have to set a better example, I think, for the rest of the world to see us in a particular way because they want to be like us. The first thing I saw when I was in South Africa is that people in South Africa saw CNN News. So whatever we were doing, they were doing, and they wanted to be like us.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. Now, tell us a little about what you're doing with the Charles Wright membership and, what's
Well,
going on with there.
Every year we conduct a membership drive during Black History Month. And it's to keep the doors of the museum open. We have the finest museum in the country.
Right.
And we were the largest until we opened up the National Museum in Washington, D.C., but we still have a jewel right here. And it's something that we have to protect. This is our museum. And the best way of helping to support the museum is to become a member. And it is so inexpensive. One thing about the museum is that we want to make sure that people can come in through these doors and learn, and that's why we keep our membership so low. As a matter of fact, normally a family membership is only $65, and that gives you a family and guest passes. You're also allowed to get a discount in our gift shop. An individual membership is $35, and that is not expensive when you compare it to the memberships of other museums. Seniors, $15, children, $5. We want to make sure that everybody can come to that museum. And if you will join, you will be able to do this and not have to spend a lot of money because we want you to come through our doors. We want your membership. We want you to be a part of the Charles H. Wright family.
Well, but listen, I mean, look, here's the thing, too. I think that if you don't know where you've been, you can't know where you're going.
That's right. You can't understand where you are right now.
Right.
Can't appreciate it.
Right. And I think that the Charles H. Wright really represents one of those things in terms of the importance of history, in terms of not only where we come from, but what we've done.
And
what
where
we've
we're going.
accomplished, and who sacrificed for us to get here and
That's
where we're
right.
going. And so I think that it's a really good thing that you're doing and that you're using your influence, as a decision maker, to be involved in these type of things because you have a lot of people who are elected, whether they be judges or whether they be, legislators or executives, who sometimes tend to shy away when it comes to black things or things that are promoting African American history. And it's nice, it's refreshing to see people like yourself that are out there that are trying to take advantage of this. They're trying to be a part of this. They're trying to use your platform in order to help people learn more about themselves.
Well, thank you for saying that, but I do believe that because I've been a criminal law judge most of my career, and all these young folks that really don't have a sense of history, they don't even understand what they can become because they're so limited in what they've seen. So when you come to the museum and you see the great things that African Americans have done, it can only inspire you to become better, to follow your dreams, even have dreams. And that's one of the important experiences of the museum. You'll leave there thinking and knowing what you can possibly become.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's a very good point. I also want to ask this with you as well. What do you think, or what would you point to? Because I have certain things that I point to, like like when I was a legislator, I passed historic civil rights legislation.
Right.
What do you have to point to as a judge that you think is your most proudest achievement?
Every time I look up and someone comes up to me and says, "Your Honor, remember me, you sentenced me. And I want to thank you for this because you saved my life. I was on a road of destruction and you got me off drugs. You encouraged me to read and to get an education, and look at me now." That's what makes me feel good when
Really?
people have become rehabilitated. And people come to me all the time. I've been on the bench a long time, and I have so many success stories to talk about. And I've had so many times where I end up hugging people, and they hug me. And we get teary-eyed sometimes because I remember so many of these cases. I mean, even last night I was at the museum, and a lady came up to me and told me about the experience she had. Her son was killed, and I presided over the trial, and I remembered the trial. So I'm dealing with human issues. I'm dealing with real people, and I just try to I try to make people better. I mean, I try to do what I can on the bench and off the bench to
Right.
make this a better world and to affect people in a positive way when I can.
Because a lot of times we talk about criminal justice reform, we talk about it. We talk about it in the sense of people who we probably think shouldn't be there, or people who are there who are wrongfully convicted, or people who are there for low-level drug offenses. We really don't talk about the power of redemption or redemptive justice from that standpoint. I'm not saying there's not a lot of things that legislators need to fix, because I think sometimes that we've done things like mandatory minimums that take those decisions out of the hands of judges. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it puts them in, and it's more about what legislators politically are trying to achieve, rather than actually trying to have a system that actually helps bring, is restorative, but also I think something that actually tries to help people try to really change and rehabilitate. I think we become more of a system that punishes and profits rather than helps people rehabilitate.
Well, I think that our emphasis ought to be to keep people from turning to crime.
Right.
Keep
Do you
people,
think there's things that we should be doing? Like do you as a judge, do you look at like lawmakers, or do you look at certain laws that you think we need reform or need changing in order for us to have a better judicial system to actually let judges be judges and do their job?
Well, I think our system evolves. I mean, laws change. I mean, you're a lawmaker.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to come up with a better way. I think our emphasis always has to be prevention, trying to create a world where people don't have to turn to crime. People create an environment where people respect one another. And we have to have opportunities for people to make a living without turning to crime. One thing your dad always used to say, you want to stop crime in half, you want to cut it in half, give more jobs. And I believe that. I was young when he was talking that, but it influenced me because it was true then and it's true now. You want to cut crime in half, give people jobs.
Put people back to work. I remember that people who have jobs, I remember he was saying that people who have jobs have dignity and will be and put people to work, and people who don't are gonna rob folks.
That's right.
I mean, he was so right about that. I think it was Bill Clinton who said the best social program is a good paying job, and so we definitely need to put more people back to work. We got some calls.
That's right.
We got some callers. I'm here with the Honorable Judge Craig Strong. You got any questions? Let me know right now. Hello.
Good evening, Senator.
Good evening. How you doing? You got any questions for the Honorable
Okay.
Judge?
Yes, Judge, for the people that have committed crime and they force them to say that they did the crime but didn't, what can a person do about that? Because there's some people that I know has been locked up for a long time and they didn't do the crime. Somebody put it on them, and one of them is with marijuana or some kind of drugs, but they've been locked up for a long time and they don't want to release them because I guess they're getting money from the state or the city or whoever.
Well, we have a system of law which allows people to appeal to the Court of Appeals free, as a matter of fact, so that other judges will take a look at the case. I think one of the biggest fears of any judge is to have someone locked up wrongfully. And what we all, I think, are interested in is to make sure that people are not punished unfairly,
Right.
and that people are not losing their freedom for something that they didn't do. So you have to cooperate with the lawyers and do whatever you can on the outside to help that person on the inside. And during that time, also encourage that person to improve him or herself. I just had a case that is worthy of, I think, conversation. Years ago, I had a case where two girls paid a boy to kill their mother. These were teenage girls. And they were caught when the aunt came into the house and heard them boasting about the murder and dividing the property. Well, they were found guilty and sentenced, and one of them was sentenced basically to the rest of her life. And I remember when I sentenced her, I told her that although she'll be in prison, to improve herself, still go to school, try to become whatever you can. And also I told her that your biggest punishment is going to be that nobody's going to visit you. So you kill your mother, nobody's going to come to visit you, because mothers will visit you when nobody else will. But you kill your mother, nobody's going to show up for you. Well, guess what happened? Years later, over 35 years later, they changed the law so that juveniles that age who were sentenced to life in prison were given an opportunity to have their sentence changed. And although, they could still go to prison for the rest of their lives. And that particular person was one of those individuals who I could resentence. So when I looked at her pre-sentence report, I saw what she had done in her lifetime. I mean, she got an associate degree. She went to college while she was incarcerated. She started programs to help other inmates, young girls, go through the system and to make adjustments in their own lives to become productive. And when I saw what she did during those 35 years, I sentenced her to credit for time served. I said, she's been rehabilitated. And I was so proud of her. And I told her, education freed you. I mean, look at what you did for yourself. I mean, there's really no more that we can do. I mean, you have become rehabilitated. But then I also asked her, did anyone visit you while you were in prison growing up? She said no.
Wow.
Very powerful. But it's the power of education that has freed our people, that have allowed us to progress all these years since the Emancipation Proclamation, education. And it's still the most important thing we can do, what we can do for ourselves and do for our children, is education.
Right, and I think that's why, I think when you talk about education, it's so very important. I think that's why your membership drive is
That's
also
right.
what you're trying to do is really important, because that's another form of educating our people, knowing who we are, where we've done, and where we come from. But that's a really powerful story.
Well,
It's
there are a lot of them out
sad
here.
too. I mean, that's
It
really,
is.
but it's also very powerful, because you would think somebody like that, I don't want to say is not worthy of redemption, but you would think someone like that would not receive redemption. You know what I mean? You would think like that. I mean, it's kind of like almost biblical how God can choose certain
That's
people
right.
who you would think He would choose in order to do His will and do great works. You would think somebody like that, you know what I mean, who would basically be, considered cast out of society, could be able to rehabilitate their lives.
That's right.
And move forward. Really, it influenced a lot based on what you told her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real powerful thing. I mean, I think that's why it's important. That's why these elections matter. That's why, our judges matter and our judicial system matters, and make sure that we have people who are in the right positions, whether they're elected or they're appointed. You know what I mean? Because you're making these judges on people's lives, and even though they're in prison, they can still make a difference.
That's right.
They really
And people
can.
do.
And they're
People
still
do.
human beings at the end of the day. And I think a lot of times we kind of want to forget people's humanity, or we're so busy of punishing or castigating or dehumanizing another individual because of something that they might done, that we can forget that they can redeem themselves. They can change their lives.
That's
they
right.
can do something better. You know what I mean?
Well, something I was told when I was a young man, everybody's long on one thing and short on something else.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what you're good at, what you're long at, and learn it and develop it and become the best that you could ever become, and then help others.
Well, listen. Make sure you promote your membership drive one more time.
Yeah, let me just tell you, we're gonna have a membership drive this Thursday, February 21st, from 4 to 8 at Motown Bistro. That's next to Burt's downtown and in Eastern Market, and it's from like I said, 4 to 8. They're gonna have discounts on the food and on the beverages. They're going to have complimentary beverages, as a matter of fact, and we're going to promote memberships there. And then on Tuesday, February 26th, we're going to be in Southfield at Duos doing the same thing. So I would like you to, first of all, join the museum, whether it's at our event or anywhere, especially at the museum. But we have to become members. Like I tell people, the best way to celebrate Black History Month, first of all, is to learn as much about Black history as you can. And the best place to learn it is at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, where the preservation of our history is its purpose.
Wow, that's amazing. We got one more caller. Caller, you're on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect. You got a question for Judge Strong?
Quickly, I just want to say thank you, Judge, for that effort to get more people involved in their own history, because
Thank you.
that's what's missing. We don't know who we are. And as soon as we learn, we need to start with the young children and do what we can to educate, to liberate. And the best way to do it is to know who you are and where you came from. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. And Judge, I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming. It's such an honor.
Well,
to
listen,
have you here.
it's an honor to be with you.
Appreciate you. I've learned so much. I have such a completely different perspective about what you do. And I'm just so thankful that we have people like men such as yourself that are in there that are making these decisions, that are doing this. And I really, from listening to you, I really understand not just the role, but the weight that you carry. You know what I'm saying? As a job, that sounds like a tremendous weight. Because as a legislator, I think I had weight or whatever else, making laws,
Well, you
trying
do.
to fight with it. But it's like you literally carrying someone else's life in your hands on a normal, everyday basis. And so I don't think we do enough to really emphasize what judges mean and the redemptive power, the healing power that they have in our communities and how they make, our cities, our states, and our world a better place. So I just want to say thank you so much. We're going to make sure that we promote the membership drive. I am running out of time, but before I leave, I just wanted to give a shout out to Satori Shakur.
Yeah.
And the Twisted Society of Storytellers, which Judge was there on hand. I knew I was in the right place because I saw him, but also somebody near dear to my heart, Miss Ann Ivory Calvert got up there and told her story, her love story between her and my father, Big Papa Pump. The Honorable Coleman Young. Now, some stuff she told a little bit too much. But I loved it nonetheless. It was phenomenal. It was a brilliant performance. If you missed it, go on YouTube and look at it. It's the Society, the Twisted Society of Secret Storytellers. No, Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, excuse me. I'm so excited to get the name wrong. Please go out there and go look at it. It was amazing. From me even knowing the story, I learned things I didn't know. I didn't know they used code names. She learned that from Jane Fonda. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. Who was that? Barbarella, whoever played that? No, that was Barbarella. See, I don't know. I don't get ahead of myself. Anyway, fantastic story. Look at it, watch it, download it, stream it, all that. Big shout out to Satori Shakur and all those other people. We love you. Honorable Judge Craig Strong, thank you so much. A phenomenal show. Thank you. Remember, nobody cares how much you know until you know how much you care. I am your state senator, Coleman Alexander Young II. God bless you. We'll see you next time right here on The Young Effect.